This week, I've been thinking about how many of us are carrying words inside of us that we are afraid to say. Words that might hurt someone, they might offend someone, words that might shake a relationship. And so instead of speaking them, we swallow them. And swallowed pain doesn't disappear. It settles. It settles somewhere, and it can come out and create more pain. So here's what I want to talk about today. Healing often requires language. And sometimes we don't have the words, and we need to feel what we're really feeling in the body. Because a lot of our communication is from the bottom up, moves up from the body to the brain. And if you can't give your suffering a voice, if you don't listen to the body first before you give it words, and you just ignore it, it will stay trapped in your body. Your nervous system will hold what your mouth cannot release. And sometimes we just need to feel it. And as we feel it, words will come. I'm not talking about lashing out. I'm not talking about being cruel. I'm not talking about weaponizing honesty, saying, well, I'm just being honest and saying very cruel things. I've seen that happen. I'm talking about safe truth, really being honest. And the truth sometimes doesn't feel safe because it's change, but it's not cruel. You can do this. You can practice this speaking truth, speaking what you really feel about something or towards someone, being honest about it. You can do this in therapy. You can do it in a prayer. You can do it in a journal with a trusted friend that you know won't take it and run with it. Or even in a regulated conversation with the person who hurt you. Some words, some wounds don't heal because we're trying to protect everyone else from our pain. We're afraid that our pain is going to crush them. But here's the paradox. Unspoken pain does more damage to relationships than honest pain ever will. When we suppress what's true, what's the honest truth, I'm not talking about telling someone they look, unattractive in something they're wearing. Okay, that's not truth. That's just cruelty. I'm talking about your truth. When somebody is treating you a certain way and you are feeling something about that, listening to your body first because it's giving you signals. And it doesn't, the subconscious, the body doesn't speak in words. It speaks in emotions, feelings. So once it reaches the conscious mind and you've felt it enough that you can put some words to it, give yourself time to get to that point. Then when you speak your truth, it will be beneficial. And if it doesn't fall on ears that are ready to receive it, that's okay. Your job is to be real with who you are. And if you've shared it in a loving way, in the best way that you could, have a lot of grace for yourself and for the other person and give it time. Because when we suppress our truth, we can become resentful. We can become distant in a relationship. It becomes very phony and fake, and you end up not enjoying the relationship. We ourselves become dysregulated. We can become passive aggressive. I'm sure you know people that have become passive aggressive. Maybe you have become passive aggressive. It's because you're withholding something that needs to be worked through and said and spoken, felt first. Or you can shut down entirely. And then we say things like, I don't know what happened to me. I don't know what happened to us. What happened is the silence. You didn't say the things you needed to say. And many of us are taught that being loving means just shutting our mouths and being quiet, not saying what needs to be said. That being spiritual means being agreeable. Being mature means not saying the hard thing, knowing, just holding it in. But real maturity is regulated honesty. There's a difference between reactive truth and processed truth. Reactive truth is in the moment. It explodes. It doesn't take a pause, time to think. Processed truth connects. It gives, first, it creates space between what's happening, what you're feeling, gives you time to feel it, recognize it, become aware, maybe label where you're feeling it, what you're feeling, what's triggering you, and how are you being triggered? What is the body saying? And when you speak from a regulated nervous system, you get that nervous system, you're aware. You kind of, when you become aware, you're pulling yourself out of that fight, flight mode, that need to quick react. And your nervous system's regulated. You're not attacking. You're going to reveal. And here's the part that might surprise you. Giving language to your pain will actually help the relationship. Because now you can both look at the wound. It's visible. Here is the problem. It's separate from us. This is it right here. Let's look at it. The misunderstanding, we have a name for it now. The hurt, it has a shape. You cannot heal if you refuse to acknowledge something, if it stays in your minds and you both have made up stories. Silence protects the illusion of peace. Silence is also where the story that someone has can just keep on playing, because we make up stories in our nervous system states. And so that story can continue to stay and actually get more and more problematic, more extreme, because there's this silence. But truth actually builds peace. It doesn't mean that your truth won't hurt someone. Sometimes it will, and sometimes then there needs to be space in the relationship. I have relationships like that where my truth, how I see the thing, a situation, is different from how they see a situation. And working through trying to find a compromise is very difficult, especially if one party insists that you agree with them. That's very difficult. And I know that we have two different perspectives, and I have to just let that be. And my truth is that I'm not going to just accept. I can understand that you have a different perspective, and I can understand that my perspective is different than yours. I'm not just going to accept your perspective as truth. We need to have conversations. And in my situation, I've tried those things. I've tried the conversations. And then I had to just walk away. Not because I wanted to or because I hated the person, or no, I love them. I'm trying to preserve the relationship as much as possible. And their story of me is continuing to get more and more polluted in their mind, because they're not willing to look at themselves. They're not willing to accept that there are different perspectives. And that's part of just self-awareness. And until they get there, it's likely that we won't be able to have a relationship. Like, this does go both ways. You need the other person to do that, but you can only control you. And I had to be willing to name the pain instead of pretending, instead of becoming somebody I'm not. Because pain that's buried becomes an infection and it spreads. But pain that has a name, that you can see, that you can, there's its parameters, it can be worked on. It can be worked with. And this might feel even scary, but here's three gentle ways that you can begin this. Start in private. Write the thing that you're afraid to say. Don't edit it. Don't spiritualize it. Don't soften it. Just let your nervous system empty itself out. Put words on paper. Put feelings on paper. Notice how your body feels before, during, as you spill out the words, and afterward. And if your heart is racing, if your breath is tight, if you feel heat in your chest, just wait. When you speak with someone, you got to speak from regulation, not activation. So you need a slow breath. You need your feet on the floor, your shoulders down. The truth can land differently when it's not thrown, when it's not in the heat of the moment. I've done this the incorrect way, and I've done it the right way, or the healthy way. I shouldn't say there's a right and a wrong. They have consequences, right? And The consequences aren't necessarily what I thought they would be, but I can accept the consequence because I'm actually living in truth. I'm no longer trying to pretend that something's not true that is. I'm no longer trying to like protect others, make others more comfortable while I ignore my own sense of who I am. So instead of saying you always, you could try, when that happened, I felt this way. The truth without attack creates room for repair. Now, I've had plenty of these types of situations with loved ones that it's worked so beautifully in bringing a relationship together. My husband and I are examples of this. We even just recently had an area where I was triggered and we had to walk through it. We had to work through it. And his old way of behaving would be to like shut down, blame himself. But instead, he continued to talk through it and recognizing, where he contributed. I recognize where I contributed in this problem. It's us against this issue instead of us against each other. Healing is never about hurting anyone. Healing is about no longer hurting yourself by staying silent. Your pain deserves language. Your body deserves relief. And your relationships deserve honesty that comes from regulation, not resentment. Because if you don't put words to it, if you don't feel it, allow yourself to feel it and get it out, even if it's just on paper or bouncing it off of a trusted friend to work through it, it will build into resentment and that will come out. It will ruin the relationship. We're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to be honest and regulated at the same time. That's growth, that's maturity, and that's healing. Remember, this podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not medical or mental health advice. If you need professional care, please seek a licensed provider. But if you struggle to give voice to your pain, and if you shut down or you overreact, or if your nervous system doesn't feel safe speaking truth, this is the work I do. Through hypnotherapy and nervous system regulation, we can create internal safety so you can speak externally without fear. And you can work with me privately. The link is in the description. Remember, transformation isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, curiosity, and a little bit of courage. Real change starts with one small step, and you don't have to take it alone.